was a star in the making, a talented music major, a beauty queen, and the pride of Russellville, Arkansas. But on December 15, 2005, everything changed. Nona Dirksmeyer was found brutally murdered inside her apartment. And nearly 2 decades later, the question still haunts the town. Who killed Nona Dirksmeyer? 2 suspects, 2 high-profile trials, but no justice. This is the tragic and twisting story of a murder that has never been solved, and a young woman whose light was stolen far too soon. Nona Dirksmeyer was born on December 26, 1985. From the very beginning, she radiated warmth and confidence. Growing up in the small town of Russellville, Arkansas, Nona quickly made a name for herself, not just as a top student, but as someone with a magnetic presence. She sang in choir, acted in plays, and eventually discovered the world of pageants. Her beauty, talent, and poise made her a natural. She began competing in local pageants, and by 2005, she held the title of Miss Petit Jean Valley. With her sights set on Miss Arkansas, she was working hard, balancing college life and her future ambitions. She was also a student at Arkansas Tech University, majoring in music education. Friends described her as upbeat, bubbly, and kind. She played the piano, sang, and was passionate about becoming a music teacher. But for all her brightness, Nona's life had some shadows, especially in her personal relationships. Her accomplishments spoke volumes: National Honor Society, music scholarships, community service, and frequent performances in recitals and competitions. Teachers often said Nona had the gift of bringing light to any room she entered. Her charm wasn't superficial, it was rooted in authenticity. Nona had also begun mentoring younger girls who were new to the pageant world. She taught them grace, poise, and confidence. Her passion wasn't just about winning crowns, it was about building character. Yet beneath all this promise, dark clouds were gathering in her private life. Nona had been dating Kevin Jones since high school. At first, their relationship looked like a fairy tale. They were the prom king and queen, inseparable through graduation, and continued dating into college. Kevin attended Arkansas Tech as well, but behind the smiles there were cracks. Friends began to notice signs of emotional turmoil. Kevin was possessive, often checking in on Nona excessively. They fought frequently, and while Nona confided in close friends about wanting to move on, she found it hard to break things off completely. The situation was growing more toxic. Kevin seemed to have trouble letting go, and Nona, always trying to avoid confrontation, struggled to set clear boundaries. Texts between the couple showed mounting tension, jealousy, accusations, apologies, repeats. Weeks leading up to her death, Nona was reportedly spending more time with friends and less time with Kevin. She was trying to pull away. She'd started talking to others casually and hinted at wanting to experience independence before settling down. One friend later told police that Nona feared how Kevin might react if she fully broke things off. And that fear was not unfounded. It started like any other day, finals week at Arkansas Tech. Nona had exams and planned to study, but by late afternoon she hadn't been heard from. Friends couldn't reach her. Kevin said he tried calling and texting but received no response. Concerned, he and his mother, Janice Jones, drove to Nona's apartment. Using a spare key, Janice opened the door to apartment 5A. What they saw next was a scene of horror. Nona was lying on the floor of her bedroom, partially unclothed. Blood was everywhere. A broken lamp nearby appeared to be the murder weapon. She had been bludgeoned and stabbed. Kevin called 911, reportedly hysterical. but calm enough to follow directions. Paramedics arrived. It was too late. Nona had been dead for hours. Neighbors reported not hearing any screaming. The complex was small, thin walls, close quarters. If Nona had struggled or screamed, why hadn't anyone heard? Police noted several strange elements. The murder appeared frenzied, yet selective. Her wallet and phone were untouched. Her door showed no signs of forced entry. But the sheer violence, it felt personal. Russellville police began their investigation immediately. The scene was violent and chaotic, but oddly personal. There were no signs of forced entry. No valuables were missing. Nothing appeared to be stolen. The attack looked emotionally driven. This wasn't a robbery gone wrong. It was rage. Investigators quickly honed in on Kevin. He was the boyfriend. He found the body. And his behavior during the police interviews was strange. Kevin agreed to answer questions. But what followed was a 12-hour interrogation. Detectives recorded a video of Kevin reenacting how he discovered Nona's body and attempted CPR. Many said he didn't show enough emotion. Others criticized the detectives for aggressive tactics. Still, the case against Kevin grew. Janice's involvement, how she calmly unlocked the door, how she reacted, also raised eyebrows. But Kevin remained the primary focus. Forensic tests on his clothing came back clean. No blood, no DNA, but suspicions don't always need science. On the strength of circumstantial evidence and behavior, Kevin Jones was arrested and charged with first-degree murder. In 2007, the case against Kevin Jones went to trial. The media swarmed Russellville. People were divided. Some believed Kevin was guilty. Others thought the police had rushed to judgment. The prosecution argued that Kevin was jealous and snapped. They pointed to inconsistencies in his story, his demeanor, and his rocky relationship with Nona. The defense, however, struck back hard. They argued the investigation had tunnel vision. Experts testified that the crime scene had been contaminated. More importantly, there was no forensic link between Kevin and the murder. After weeks of testimony, the jury returned a verdict: not guilty. Kevin Jones was a free man, but Nona's killer was still out there. With Kevin cleared, police returned to the drawing board. That's when they re-examined someone who had previously been overlooked: Gary Dunn. Gary was Nona's upstairs neighbor. At the time, he'd told police he knew nothing, but a deeper look into his background painted a disturbing picture. Dunn had a criminal record. In 2002, he had been accused of attacking a female jogger, dragging her into the woods and choking her. He had also been arrested for indecent exposure. This wasn't someone with a clean past. In 2008, forensic teams retested DNA from Nona's apartment. Gary Dunn's fingerprints were found on a pornographic magazine next to Nona's body. His DNA was found on a condom wrapper in the trash. It was enough to arrest him. Neighbors later testified that Gary was often seen watching the apartments below. One even claimed he had commented on Nona's beauty just weeks before her death. Gary Dunn was charged with capital murder. Prosecutors believed he had entered Nona's apartment while she was alone and murdered her during a sexual assault attempt. The first trial in 2010 ended in a hung jury. The second, in 2011, ended the same way. Jurors were divided. Some believed the forensic evidence was compelling. Others thought it didn't prove he committed the murder beyond a reasonable doubt. No confession. No eyewitnesses. Despite his criminal history and proximity to the crime scene, Gary Dunn walked free. The charges were dismissed. Once again, Nona's family was left without justice. For Nona's mother, Charlotte, the pain is unbearable. In countless interviews, she's spoken of Nona's bright spirit, her goals, and the agony of losing her only daughter. Charlotte has become an advocate for reform in criminal investigations and victims' rights. She believes the case was mishandled from the beginning, and that Nona's killer escaped justice because of it. To this day, she continues to fight for Nona's name, for for closure, for truth. She organizes annual vigils, pushes for case reviews, speaks at schools and victim advocacy events. Her mission is clear: never let Nona be forgotten. Nona Dirksmeyer was more than a headline. She was more than a case file. She was a young woman with dreams and talent, a daughter, a friend, a student, a pageant queen. Her story continues to resonate because it represents something deeper: the fragility of life, the failures of a system, and the unbearable silence left when justice is denied. Today, her murder remains officially unsolved. Her college has since named a scholarship in her honor. Many aspiring music educators apply, carrying forward her love of teaching. The community has not forgotten her smile, or the injustice that still looms over Russellville. If you believe Nona deserves justice, if you believe stories like hers must be remembered, then subscribe to this channel, hit the bell so you don't miss our next deep dive into cases that still need answers.